Good evening. We are here at Start Me Up Studios with Alina Demeter, and we're going to do a little household innovation video, do it yourself with Alina Demeter, installment number 2 in the kitchen this time. And we're here in my kitchen, and we have a lot of things in our kitchen that I think we forget that are there and that actually have multiple purposes and that we can utilize that are with regard to our nutrition and with regard to kind of family projects that we can do and teach the kids, if we have kids at home, or even each other, really, so one of the things that I learned, and I actually learned this just by happenstance. I really had no idea, and this just kind of happened. When I started cooking, when I got married, I started cooking. Before I was married, I wouldn't cook. The kitchen was a place that I would stop by on the way to work because I was a litigation attorney, and I would grab a cup of coffee. I would come in the kitchen, I would grab a cup of coffee over here, and then I would leave. And that was it. That was pretty much my kitchen activity. But then when I got married, and I was married for 7 years, and I have 2 beautiful children, and I had to feed my family, of course I started cooking. And I grew up in a family that cooked. And so, every woman kind of, and man, eventually learns how to cook. And it would be nice if children, also learn that with their parents, kind of as part of their upbringing. And then when they have their own families, to learn how to cook. Now, we have a COVID international pandemic right now, and knowing how to cook is a really big asset, because if you can cook, you're actually going to save a lot of money, because you start kind of understanding certain things when you cook and when you do things yourself. And this is why I like to do this DIY with Alina Demeter, and I figured out how to use a video stand, which was given to me by a friend, Jeffrey Benton. Thank you, Dr. Benton, for this video stand. And he was actually the one that encouraged me to video myself, because normally I wouldn't even think to do this. Anyway, so here I am, and basically we're going to do something. I'm just going to show you what I did. So I'm scrounging around in my house for different things. I wanted to give some plant food to my plants. Now, we're all on a budget. Obviously, it's COVID. We are not in a position, any of us, to be, spending money that otherwise we may have spent in the past. I, in the past, may have, gone and bought food for my garden, and I don't do that anymore because it's an extra expense. I've cut that expense. I've cut a lot of expenses. So what am I doing? We have to start utilizing our resources that we already have in the house, and each thing has a multiple functions. So here we have calcium, citrate, magnesium, and zinc vitamins. Now these are actually minerals and vitamins that magnesium does not naturally occur in our body. We have to supplement our body with magnesium. So this is magnesium. Then we've got calcium. Calcium is present in all kinds of foods. You can look it up, or you can of course supplement your calcium by taking a supplement. Now, we are organic beings. We're human beings, and we're organic. And calcium is an organic mineral. Okay, it helps strong bones, strong teeth. It has a lot of different benefits, and you can look it up on Google. You can Google that to confirm what I'm saying, because I Googled it. That's how I know a lot of things that I know, because I do a lot of Googling and I read a lot. And then we have here zinc. Zinc is a great element for healing. So if you have a wound, or you're sick, or whatever, you should take zinc. So as a preventative measure, this is a great thing to have if you're here in the United States and you have access, or even around the world, to the Kirkland brand, which is the Costco brand. You can get this gigantic quantity, which is like industrial quantity of calcium, magnesium, and zinc. And you can make it shakes and smoothies with that. Put like a banana, put some strawberries, put some blueberries, some whip up some maybe peanut butter, and make a nice shake for your family and so forth. But there's another use that it can be made of this calcium magnesium, and what it is what? For the plants. Plants are also organic. Okay, we're all connected on this planet. Okay, and we have plants. And I have a garden. I'm blessed to have a small garden, and I have plants. And what I noticed is when I take this stuff, this calcium, magnesium, and zinc, and I used to buy it in a liquid form. It was more expensive. It was like $16 at the Sprouts for a liquid one, and I wouldn't use very much of it. But then I also have this vitamin form, which is basically the same thing, except what they did is they dried it up and made it into these pills, okay? Which you can take as a vitamin, or you can crush it up and put it in your plants. And what I noticed when I just accidentally did this one day, this is years ago, probably 10 years ago I did this, or whatever, 8 years ago. I just was dumping, I don't like throwing things away from the kitchen, because when I cook, then there's scraps, like vegetable scraps, and you can take those vegetable scraps and put them into a mulch in your backyard, and then you can use that mulch to then feed your plants. So you don't want to throw away organic material. You can mulch it in your yard, and you can look up mulching on Google as well, and anybody who's into gardening will know about mulching. And then once, I discovered that once I started to understand the connection, because we're kind of disconnected. That's another theme. I think we're as an earth, we are disconnected. In the sense that people have evolved to the point where, we're using technology. We're very blessed to have food. And food comes from where? From a farm. Many of us don't live anywhere near a farm. We live in the suburbs, which is where I live, or we're, in the city. And a lot of us are disconnected from our food sources. We don't understand where our food comes from, or even what makes up food, and how to grow things, and what it actually takes to grow our food. And so there's a lot of food waste that goes on in the United States of America, because people are not appreciative. And of course now we have a COVID, which is really a war. We're at war right now, ladies and gentlemen. And in case anybody hasn't figured that out, I assure you, we're in World War III right now. And we have a crisis situation. So we're going to have to start to become creative with the resources that are at our disposal. So this is if you have plants, like I am blessed, I still have plants to feed. And if you don't have a plant, get one. Get a plant and put it in your environment, wherever you are. You might have a small space or a larger space, it doesn't matter. Or get out into nature and start appreciating the plants that are around. If you're not blessed to have a space that you are custodian of that space to take care of. But let me assure you that when you do start spending time in nature, and then actually interacting with nature, you actually interacting with God. And I have found so many times, and when I am in my garden, that I have insights from my plants. They actually speak to me. So I take care of them, and they're alive, and they behave in a certain way and in response to certain things. So you have plants, you have to have the right conditions, for example, for a plant to grow. Either some plants do well in sunlight, others do well in the shade, others do well in combined shade and sunlight. Some don't need very much water, others need a lot of water. They have all kinds of different conditions. And then there's also the pH level of the water, which is the acidity or alkaline nature of the water, depending on the plant, would they will respond better to either more acid water or more alkaline water. And you can modify the alkalinity or the acidity of the water with different methods as well. And then of course, so what do you need to grow a plant? You need 3 things. You need a seed, right? You're going to know what seed you're picking when you plant that plant. You don't want to plant a plant that is going to overtake your space, or that is going to be a difficult thing to grow, or that is going to die, right? Because you don't have enough resources to take care of that plant. The second thing that you need is you need water. All plants need water to live. So you have to have a water source, more or less, okay? And then the third thing that you need to keep a plant alive is you need food, at least initially, for that plant to live. And a plant is consists of the seed, then it grows, and then it has branches, and then it bears fruit. Okay, and that fruit is then eaten either by humans or by animals. And some humans have decided that we don't eat animals, we just eat plants. And so what it's interesting is that human beings actually take on the characteristic of what they eat, and I've found this to be true. So in other words, our mood and our character and a lot of different things actually have to do more with what we eat than anything else. What we eat and what we consume. And that is true: food for thought, food for the spirit, and food for the body really is the number one thing that's going to start us up in this world. More than anything else, even politics. I think politics are really the last thing that are going to affect what we do on a daily basis. We have control. Each one of us has control over what we do on a daily basis to survive in this situation. And I'm saying right now that the number one thing is to get control of our food supply and what it is that we put in our bodies in response to stress and in response to seeking sustenance, okay? And the number one thing you can do is learn how to cook, learn how to farm, learn how to cook, learn how to marshal the resources that God has given us to feed ourselves, which is the one thing that we need as human beings to survive. We need to be able to eat something nutritious, and we need to avoid things that are not nutritious. We need to avoid drugs, alcohol, other substances that are harmful to our bodies. And we hopefully will learn and teach one another how to find positive ways to deal with our stress. Which is, what's a positive way to deal with stress? Work. And also reaching out to one another, and then also problem solving. And one of the biggest problem solving situations is how to make food, how to find food, how to make food, and how to consume food in a proper way so that we are healthy. Okay? And this is something that it should be learned really from the time we are children. And unfortunately, some of us haven't learned it. Why haven't we learned it? I'll tell you why. Because we're actually a very wealthy country, and we have destroyed our family structure. Usually children learn from their mothers, and sometimes from their father if it's a single father, how to cook. That's like kind of basic thing that people do in their house. And some kids didn't have that opportunity, and so they'll learn from a mother figure or a father figure who takes care of them and feeds them. And feeding a baby, having a baby in the first place, and then feeding that baby and getting the baby to a certain age, it's hard work. It's not easy. And there is a science to it. There is a know-how to it, to being healthy. And so we're just going to talk about one cute little thing, which is that the calcium magnesium citrate. So what am I going to do with this? Well, this is what I have. So that's another thing. Take what you have in the house and use it. Okay? So don't despair. You have all kinds of things in the house, and there are multiple ways to use them. So now we have, I'm going to go over here. I have a mixer. It's a veggie Vitamix mixer, and I'm just going to bring it over here, and I'm going to put some water in the mixer. Okay, here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix it up and make a paste, and it's going to be a liquid paste. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to pour it out into the plants that I have outside. Now it's now almost 1:15 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, so obviously you're not going to see me pouring it into the plants, but that's what I'm going to do, and that's what you can do. If you have any of this calcium magnesium citrate, I would recommend that you make smoothies if you can afford to buy fruits and vegetables. And if you don't have fruits and vegetables because you can't afford to buy them, there are different resources. There are food banks that are distributing food to families that are in need through Christian organizations. There are food stamps available, but that you have to apply for that. In fact, I have applied and I haven't been approved in, I think, since April, or no, excuse me, July. It's now October. So I'm basically, friends and family have been feeding me. Okay. I lost a little weight because I kind of was a little heavier before. So, and I'm lucky that me personally, I really don't need to eat that much. That's just how I am. So, blessing in disguise. All right, so now we're going to, I'm just going to go over here. You can't see me, but I'm going to use this mixer to mix this up. 1 second. Okay, this is what I have. It's this foamy stuff, and I'm going to go now and pour it into the plants. Now, one of the things why would I want to do this in the middle of the night? Well, okay, I'd want to do it after sundown. I'm here in California where it's very hot outside right now. Even in October, we've had fires, and in general, where our weather is much warmer than it used to be. And so it's better to water your plants at night. In fact, there is an ordinance in the city stating that we must do this. Because, again, when you water plants during the day, in the middle of the day, a lot of that water is going to evaporate. It's not going to get into the plant, and you're wasting water. And we do also have a drought issue going on here in California. So what they have instructed us to do is several things. First of all, plant plants that are succulent plants. Succulent plants tend to use less water. The other thing that we've been asked to do is to water our plants at night, so that basically the water is absorbed into the earth and overnight, and so the plants have the benefit of the water, and we're now adding food, like I said, calcium, magnesium. And you'll see, I will show you later, the effect of this calcium magnesium. I've used it, and the roses just come out just beautiful, and other plants just absolutely spectacular what happens after I add this food to it. So, and also to humans as well, we feel better, we have more energy. And now I'm going to just make a final comment, and then I will excuse myself to go water my plants. Let me just make this perfectly clear to people. So that what's happening is, where does our food come from? Well, it's planted in the ground, and the ground has minerals in it. And where do the minerals come from? Well, the minerals come from stardust. We actually are made up of stardust. And these minerals, over time, if the land, if the soil is over-farmed, meaning that we're making too much food and we're not replenishing the vitamins and minerals that are in the soil, because remember, the plant is sucking up the nutrition from the soil and it goes into the plant, and then we eat the plant, human beings, right? So what happens is, if we don't replenish those vitamins and those minerals in the soil, and we're overusing the soil, guess what? But this is true of human beings, this is true of everything, by the way, of everything. If you don't replenish and put back what you took out, guess what? You're not going to get, at some point, you're going to run out of juice. You're going to run out of minerals and vitamins. And your food, even though you look at it, oh, look what a beautiful food, it doesn't have any nutritional value. It has no nutritional value. So you could actually be starving, and yet you're eating, okay? People could be eating and starving at the same time. All right, because of the nutritional content of the food that they eat. Now, and another thing which I noticed, and this is my observation in my life, because I was a litigation attorney, I was a mother, I was a litigation attorney and a mother at the same time in my past, and I'm very good at handling a lot of stress, just me. And one thing I noticed is that the more stress we have, the more vitamins and minerals that we utilize in our body that are literally consumed. And when we have mental stress, psychological stress, we are, it's just, like I said, we're in World War III right now. This is a situation that well, why? What's going on? And so when we have stress, we will consume more in our bodies, and we will deplete our bodies of the vitamins and minerals that are in our bodies unless we learn how to self-regulate. Self-regulate, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go water my plants, and I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good night. Okay? Start Me Up Studios, Hollywood, California. Alina Demeter, Chairwoman. Good night, and God bless.